Well, it's starting to make a lot of sense why Spike Lee calls all of his movies joints, because you're definitely going to wish you smoked one before watching his newest project. Highest to Lowest is the latest film from acclaimed director Spike Lee, and it tells the story of a powerful music mogul who is targeted by a ransom plot as he's forced to fight for his family and legacy while jammed up in a life or death moral dilemma. So I don't know a lot, but I do know that when I hear Denzel Washington is teaming up with Spike Lee once again to put a modern spin on an Akira Kurosawa project, I have plenty of reasons to assume that it's going to be a pretty badass time at the movies. Spike is one of those directors who make it so obvious you're watching their work, even if you didn't know it was one of his projects, because of his signature style and all of his trademarks. And of course, Denzel is as consistent as they come in the acting department. The two of them together have been known to be a pretty bulletproof combo in the past. So when I sat down to watch this film, I was expecting a pretty stylish, high pressure, and entertaining thrill ride from beginning to end. But unfortunately, Highest to Lowest just can't get out of its own way and make some truly bizarre creative choices that derail a lot of this movie's appeal. When it comes to the story they decided to go with here, on the surface, it's a pretty interesting world to spend some time in. I've always been someone who seems to gravitate towards movies that follow a character who's very accomplished on the business side of some sort of a creative field. It's kind of just an addicting setup. In this case, Denzel plays a guy who at one point was at the top of the world at a record label and was known for having the best ears in the game. Business has kind of slowed down for him in recent years, but his life gets thrown into complete disarray when his son ends up getting kidnapped. You'd think that would probably bring the thrills, but the movie might have ended up being more interesting if it had just focused on this guy's record label. Because scenes go on for too long, the dialogue isn't as smart as it thinks it is, and characters don't always react accordingly when you consider that the stakes are sky high here. The story takes an interesting turn every once in a while, but the flaws really prevent the movie from being anything special. This whole experience feels way too messy for it to be helmed by a director with as much proven skill as Spike Lee has, but here we are. When it comes to the acting in this movie, the first thing you're going to notice is that Denzel Washington can be dropped into literally any project and he'll still offer up a great performance. There are a few aspects of his character that leave a little something to be desired, but that's an issue with the script instead of him, because he's the glue holding this entire movie together. Jeffrey Wright plays his right-hand man, and he doesn't do a bad job. They have a good back-and-forth chemistry together, but the cast outside of those two don't really do anything impressive enough to brag about. A$AP Rocky gets a decent amount of screen time as this up-and-coming rapper, and most of the scenes he shares with Denzel are actually the highlight of the film, but not because of his involvement in them. I understand what Spike was going for by casting him in this. He was looking for someone who's been in the music business for a long time, but still had that cocky attitude to him that could act as a solid foil to our main character, but he just doesn't have what it takes to go toe-to-toe with a legend like Denzel Washington. I mean, not many legitimate actors even have the talent to do that, so that was a tall order, and it didn't really pay off. We have to talk about a couple of the technical aspects involved in this film, because Spike Lee is one of those directors who's always been known to have his own signature style ever since his career started. You know, the iconic double dolly shots, characters sometimes breaking the fourth wall, and his way of creating atmosphere through music. All of those are in here, but the soundtrack aspect of this film is pretty much a complete disaster. I feel like it's much more common that a movie comes along and the score doesn't end up making itself heard or fails to leave a lasting impact, but what we have here is one that grabs your attention for all the wrong reasons. The piano was going absolutely crazy, and it didn't really fit with the vibe of everything that was going on. I mean, it felt like Denzel was marching his ass up to Skyrim to turn in a quest or something. We're talking about a high-stakes hostage ransom situation here, and it's somehow giving off soap opera RPG vibes. That probably shouldn't happen. Spike Lee for sure still has some juice behind the camera when it comes to the framing of shots and the use of color, but there are definitely some miscalculations this time around that are going to leave you thinking he's taking a big step in the wrong direction. Overall, guys, Highest to Lowest has all the makings of a classic Spike Lee experience, a good lead performance, an entertaining setting, stylistic camera movement, but the music and the pacing are going to have you scratching your head and wondering why all of these issues weren't ironed out when it was back in the editing room. There are a few killer scenes from time to time in here reminding you why this guy is one of our most well-known directors, but the overall experience is messy and misguided. Denzel is innocent per usual, but this is kind of a swing and a miss, man. Highest to Lowest gets a Sully score of 2.5 stars. So that's my review of the latest Spike Lee film. What do you think is the best movie that he's ever made? I think I might have to go with BlacKkKlansman back in 2018, but let me know in the comments below what you think. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys at the next one.